Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Rhythm Shift, back again with another toy review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the ThreeZero 1/6 scale G.I. Joe Snake Eyes collectible figure. So as I've already mentioned, and as probably some of you know if you've been watching my channel, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan. Well, I was a huge G.I. Joe fan in the 1980s, although over here G.I. Joe was actually called Action Force. So I grew up collecting Action Force, which is G.I. Joe. They just renamed it here for Action Force over here. And yeah, I really loved that toy line. I used to collect it with my brother, and he was a little older than me, so he was into it before I was, but I got into it. And yeah, in the 80s, Action Force G.I. Joe was one of my big interests. And like most people, Snake Eyes is a favourite character of mine, definitely a fan favourite character. And when I found out that ThreeZero were going to be making a 1/6 scale G.I. Joe Snake Eyes and also a Storm Shadow, I was like, hey, you know what, man? I'm not usually too big into 1/6 scale figures, and I explain why as I go through this review. I'm not usually into them so much, but I saw these on pre-order before I even started collecting the classified line, and I thought to myself, you know what, man? At that particular point in time, classified figures were so hard to get that I thought, well, if I'm only going to get, if I can't get classified, why don't I just get two of my favourite characters from G.I. Joe in 1/6 form, and that was Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. And at the time, I thought, you know what, man? If I just have those two characters represented in my collection in some way, shape or form, I would be very happy. But you know, if they were to do other characters, I mean, I would be very interested if they did a 1/6 Cobra Commander, because Cobra Commander is one of my favourite characters in all of G.I. Joe, and I think I'd probably draw the line there, unless if they'd done a really cool, good looking Lady J figure maybe. But otherwise, yeah, I'd pretty much draw the line at Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow and Cobra Commander, because as I said, I'm not that much of a 1/6 scale collector, because I've 1/6 scale figures, man. It's like in the inserts in these toys, they say these are not toys, but they're just very delicate, and they have a tendency to break very easy. They're very expensive, and for me, they take a lot of maintenance for what you're getting, and the customer service is pretty shit. I mean, I'm talking about Hot Toys when I say that. But look, let me stay focused on Snake Eyes for now, and I'll get into some of the issues a bit later. So here he comes in his box, and the box is really cool because it's a real vintage throwback to the 1980s Real American Hero figure cards, where you'd have a portrait of the figure, then you'd have sort of explosion behind them, and it would say their name, and you'd have the figure in a little bubble on the card. But that's a really nice touch. I love the fact that they've got the the red, white, and blue, and G.I. Joe in the logo here with the star. It says Snake Eyes 1/6 scale. Let's take this out of the bag because they come in these plastic bags. Let's take this out. So the box was pretty much well packaged. I got this figure from a place called Kapow Toys here in the UK. They're very good. I've ordered a good few figures from them. Their prices are always very competitive. Their shipping is very fast, and their customer service is very good. I mean, I've had to speak to them on the phone a few times, and they're very friendly, and they actually they're really cool guys to do business with. So yeah, I got this from Kapow Toys in the UK. I got it on the pre-order when it was first announced. I think it sold out on the pre-order, but it took about, I think I pre-ordered this one in maybe November or December of 2020, and I got this maybe 3 months ago. So I'm just doing my review of it now. So it says on the box, you got Figaro Zero. I don't know why it says Figaro Zero there. Yeah, 1/6 scale collectible figure. It says here, you've got the Hasbro logo, and you've got the ThreeZero logo here. On the side, you've got a profile of Snake Eyes portrait there. On the back you've got some nice artwork which shows, you know, G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes in some action poses. Here he's holding his signature Uzi. He's got handgun there, a Rashikage symbol on his shoulder, which is very nice, and 2 swords shown here. Then you've got the little write-up and information there. On this side it shows a symbol of an eagle, which usually the eagle represents America or the Roman Empire. And Snake Eyes, collectible figure. So that's that. You can also you can unslip this Velcro part of the box. If you want to keep him in his box, you can do so. But if you open up the Velcro, you'll be able to see the figure inside and some of his accessories. So that's quite a nice feature if you want to keep him carded, mint on box. You can still see the figure, but they wrap the figure in plastic, so it's kind of hard to see the figure actually in the tray if you don't take him out the plastic bag he comes in. So I'd also like to say, in terms of collecting these G.I. Joes at 1/6 scale, for me this is also a nice throwback because you know, the very vintage G.I. Joes, before they had the Real American Heroes series in the 1980s, they were 1/6 scale figures. So it's actually quite nice to have a G.I. Joe in that scale, because it kind of like, if you're a toy aficionado or toy historian, you'll know that G.I. Joe started off at that scale. So it's kind of nice to have a Real American Hero character of G.I. Joe in that scale. So, and I know they did that in the 90s as well, but they chose some really weird costumes. Like, what did they choose for that? The 12-inch figures in the 90s for G.I. Joe. I think they chose Snake Eyes version 4, which is one of the least, you know, popular versions of Snake Eyes. If you're going to do Snake Eyes, man, V1 or V2, that's really what you need to be representing, either Commando Snake Eyes or Ninja Snake Eyes. Here we've got the V2 Snake Eyes, so he's in his ninja form, which is probably his most recognizable and iconic form. But in those figures in the early 90s, they did Snake Eyes in his V4 costume, and he looked shit. I think they did a Cobra Commando as well. Cobra Commando wasn't too bad, but that was around the time when I was really getting out of G.I. Joe anyway. I guess I was moving more into like playing video games, Super Nintendo, so forth. Because G.I. Joe got pretty shit in the 90s, if I'm honest. When they started doing the less sort of military coloured themed vehicles and characters, and they started to go into all this neon shit with these fluorescent colours which just look like, you know, fruit pastels or something, like these weird ass glowing rainbow neon coloured figures. It just, you know, that's when I lost interest in G.I. Joe. But here we've got the figure. Let's get the figure on the set. Oops, there's the phone. Should have turned it off, but I hope you can bear with me. So there's the box out of the way, and here we have the figure. Now I need to mention first and foremost, these ThreeZero figures do not include figure stands, so you have to buy your own 1/6 scale or hot toy stands if you want to get these figures standing nicely. I've got a 1/6 scale stand which has the hook where you can place him on, because you've got to be careful which type of stand you get for some of these figures, because some of the stands can actually damage them because they're very fragile. But for this Snake Eyes, I'm going to put him on this hook stand. So let's talk about him, yeah? So the figure looks great out of the box. Oh, there's one thing I do want to mention about the box before I forget. When you take the plastic out of the plastic tray out, be very careful, because there is an accessory. Which, good grief, phone's going off. There is an accessory that he comes with in the package which isn't taped down, and I actually had a hard time finding it because it fell out of the box without me realising when I took him out of the package. Right, so if you see here, he comes with a handgun, a knife, and a bladed weapon here, which can go into his right wrist guard, and it's a black piece. It sits right here. None of these are taped down in the box when you take him. So when you take him out, these parts just fall out. Now, unfortunately for me, the bladed part fell out, and I was in bed at the time I ordered this. I received this because I got it in the post in the morning. I opened it while I was in my bed, not realising that this part had fallen out, and it had fallen on the bed, then it had fallen on the carpet, and I was searching around trying to find it, thinking, did they even include it in the box? Was it missing? But it was there, but it's just they didn't use any tape to hold it in place so it falls out very easy. So when you take him first out of the box, make sure you do it on a nice flat surface, table or something, and take all the pieces out first before you start trying to take the figure out and these bits fall out without you realising, okay? Just so I give you a bit of a heads up where that's concerned. So putting this back in the box, getting him out of the way. So let's talk about this figure. Now, as I said, he's a 1/6 scale figure, meaning that it's going to be about 12 inches. So let's just measure him to be accurate and sure. So he stands, yep, 12 inches tall. So that's 1/6 scale. Now, if you're not sure what 1/6 actually means, it means if you were to stack 6 of these figures on top of each other, they'd come to 6 foot. If that's correctly, so it's 1/6. You know, 1/6 of 6 foot. Just like these figures, the G.I. Joe classifieds are 1/12. So you'd need to stack 12 of these on top of each other to equal an adult, 6 foot tall adult. And if I was to stack 2 characters on top of each other here, you'll see what I mean. For those who are interested in this type of thing. If I was to stack 2 classifieds, they'd reach the height of this figure here. So 1/6 is half of 1/12. There you go. So that's that. So as some of you know, one of the things I love about action figures is knowing the characters, and you know, the characters are kind of developed through obviously the media, be it cartoons or comics, but also back in the 80s you used to get little bios on a lot of the toys, you know, some of the toy lines at least, such as G.I. Joe, Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Even Masters of the Universe to a certain extent used to get mini comics with those. But let me read the bios for Snake Eyes. So this is his V1 bio. It says Commando, codename Snake Eyes, file name classified, primary military specialties, infantry, secondary military specialty, hand-to-hand combat instructor, birthplace classified, grade E5. Snake Eyes is proficient in 12 different unarmed fighting systems, karate, kung fu, jiu-jitsu, and is highly skilled in the use of edged weapons. He received extensive training in mountaineering, underwater demolitions, jungle, desert, and Arctic survival, and had some form of holistic medicine, qualified expert in all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms. And it says, this man is a total mystery, but he's real good at his job. Heck, he's the best. And he was, man. In Snake Eyes is one of the coolest characters in G.I. Joe, period. So let's read his file to, so his V2 bio. Let's pull it up here. So it says, Commando, codename Snake Eyes, file name classified, primary MOS, infantry, secondary military specialty, I guess that's what it means, I don't know. Secondary military specialty, hand-to-hand combat instructor, birthplace classified, grade E5. Subject served in long-range recon patrols in Southeast Asia, left the service to study mystic martial arts with the same ninja family that produced Storm Shadow. Snake Eyes was living an ascetic existence alone in the high Sierras with a pet wolf named Timber when he was recruited for the G.I. Joe team. Qualified expert, all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms, black belt in 12 different fighting systems, and highly skilled in the use of edged weapons. Snake Eyes was tempered on the anvil of life until he was as dangerous as a razor-edged sword, flailing in the dark. The G.I. Joe team sheathed that sword and harnessed its deadly energy, but even they are wont to forget that even within the safety of its scabbard, the blade still retains its cutting edge. Now, if that ain't a badass bio, I don't know what is. And Snake Eyes is truly a badass, man. And a very welcome addition to my 1/6 scale collection. So that's his bio. So he comes, in the package he actually comes without any accessories on him. I've got him very well equipped here. Like, I've got his sword, what do you call this, sword sheath on. Now, to take that on and off, what you do is you gently pull the head off the ball joint, and you can slide this up and over and take it off. So when you first get him in the box, he's going to look like this without that part on. So let's just start with him. And I want to talk about the body, because the body suit is quite cool. I mean, there's a lot of detail on here, and let's talk about it. So typical Snake Eyes for his V2 look, with the visor, kind of like a medieval knight visor. It sits alright on his head, but I think personally his visor sits a little too low. Like, I'd prefer it if it was a little higher, because it makes him look a little bit dorky, if I may say that word, dorky. A comparison would be, I think the perfect positioning of the visor is here on a classified figure. So on the classified figure, the visor sits not too low down on his forehead, and you've got the nice shape of his jawline, and you can see part of the lower. There's more space between the bottom of his chin and the edge of the visor there. Now, this for me is the ideal Snake Eyes head sculpt. Perfect for me. This is exactly what I want. This one's not too bad. This one's sixth figure of ThreeZero is not too bad, but I just think the visor sits a little low, and makes him look a bit dorky, his head shape. But it's okay, and to be honest, that's a minor thing for me, because I'd much rather take this than if they gave us the sculpted lips, for example, that they had on a 1980s figure, which always looked weird to me. I thought, why the hell did they sculpt his lips on his mask like that? But yeah, so this is okay. Moving down the figure, you can see the body is made out of kind of like a soft material, and this is something that worries me actually, because these soft materials on these Hot Toys and 1/6 figures have a tendency to degrade over time, and that's one of the reasons why it pisses me off getting these expensive 1/6 figures, which just they're a pain in the ass to maintain, man. But I don't know, I've been treating this with some to try and keep it soft and not get it dehydrated, but I'm not sure what the overall longevity of this type of material will be going forward, and that's something that does worry me. So I have to be very careful with these figures. And again, I don't like figures that are like fucking you look at them the wrong way and they break, you know. That fucking pisses me off. But nonetheless, really nice detail on him. On the back, he's also got very nice detail. You can really feel the differences in textures here. It's very soft material, so it does allow for articulation. Going down the side, you've got the nice Arashikage symbol on his shoulder, which looks great. Really nice touch. You've got these parts like on his biceps. They slide down fairly easily, but that's okay. His hands have got a lot of detail there. He's got a little again thing on his wrist which slides around, not secure. He's got a wrist guard on his left arm here, which again slides around, but you can just position that. His bladed weapon actually clips into here. It's like a secret knife kind of thing. He has a belt which has some parts attached to it which don't really hinder articulation. Comes down here, connects to the side pocket there. Forgive me, just get a bit more comfortable. He has a gun holster on his right leg, which is nice. Knee guards here and shin guards, and really nicely sculpted boots, which actually have the ThreeZero logo on the bottom, which is a nice touch. It's not too intrusive on the figure that they put that there. So that's how Snake Eyes looks when you get him in default out of the box. So let's talk a little bit about some of his accessories. So bear with me while I back this up a bit, maybe. No, stay there. That's alright. So some of the accessories that he comes packaged with is first and foremost his sword sheath. That goes over his shoulders. You also get 3 smoke grenades, which you can attach here. Personally, I'd have preferred if they were frag grenades, because Snake Eyes typically in the V2 80s version and on the classified is shown as having frag grenades on his bandolier, if that's what you call it. Now, frag grenades are the pineapple type ones. Smoke grenades, you know, they serve a different purpose, but it's still cool that you get them. You also get some flash grenades, some flashbangs. You get 3 of these, which can attach to his upper leg. You also get 2 swords, which are quite nice, which can be sheathed in his sword sheath, and you can also hold them very well. Also comes with a few other parts. Let's just get them out of here. So let me take this out one by one. He comes with an Uzi, as this is an Uzi 9mm maybe, and this has a removable clip, which is very nice. You can take the clip out there, plug it back in. Also has a shoulder stock, if that's what they call it, which you can pull out like that, so you can hold it more securely when he fires. That's a cool touch, and it's great to have an Uzi with Snake Eyes, because this is one of the weapons he was packaged with in the 80s version 2 Snake Eyes, which is great. Throwback to his commando roots. So yeah, and that's one thing that's missing on his figure actually. The 80s toy had actually 2 things missing. He had a sword, one sword, one Uzi, like so. He came with a Delta pack, which isn't included here, which when I first got this figure out the box, I was a little bit upset about that, because that was one of the things classic Snake Eyes came with, and even classified Snake Eyes came with the Delta backpack. But it's okay, I can live without it, but it might have been a nice addition. And he also came with Timber, the wolf, which obviously Timber is not included with this figure, but maybe that would be a bit much to expect ThreeZero to include a full-scale Timberwolf with this figure. I'm sure it'd drive the price up, but if it were included, I think I would certainly welcome it. I wouldn't turn it away. Now bear with me while I get something. So in doing some research online, I found that one of the ways you can try to keep Hot Toys leather, well, it's not real leather, you know, the fake leather that's used on Hot Toys and other so-called 1/6 scale figures, is this product here. This is called Aerospace 303 UV Protectant, and this is supposed to keep the material soft and lubricated and stop it from drying out and cracking. So what I do periodically is I take a little microfiber cloth like this, which is the cloth I use to clean a flat screen TV, squirt some of this protectant onto the cloth, and then you wipe down these sensitive parts of the figure, and supposedly this is supposed to prevent it from drying out, cracking, because when it dries out and it cracks, it will start to split and you're going to get pissed off. And I'm going to show you the effects of when this fake leather starts to split on a Hot Toy figure, because it's absolutely appalling, because you're paying quite a pretty penny for these figures, for them to just literally fall apart on you, you know. So basically I wipe this down maybe every few weeks, maybe a week or two, just to try and keep these parts lubricated and prevent it from drying out and cracking. Now I'm from the UK, so the weather doesn't usually get too hot here except in the summer, but nonetheless I'm trying to take preventative measures to try and keep this figure in good condition and in good repair. But that's what I'd do. I'd wipe down those parts. So let's attach his sword sheath. So to do that, you lift the head off, just gently pop it off the ball peg. It comes off quite easily, on my one at least. Lift the arm up. You can thread this through and over the neck, and pop the head back on. And then you have Snake Eyes with his sword sheath on, which makes him look more complete. I mean, that's Snake Eyes should have the sword sheath on this ninja version of the Commando Snake Eyes, and he looks great. Now, one thing I've noticed other people mention is that this right shoulder, so this left shoulder, can sit up a bit high. It can ride a bit higher, but it's not too bad. You can gently press that down, and it looks okay. It looks the part, you know. So that's that. Now I'm going to show you how you put the swords in the back. So this is how he looks like from behind. you can take each sword and gently slide them in the slots here, and those can be stored on his back, like so. And he looks even more complete now. Now, what I'll say is be careful when you're moving him around, because the 3 smoke grenades on his bandolier, if that's what you call it, I don't know if it's called, sword sheath, strap, they can fall off quite easily if you're moving him around and posing him, which is a bit frustrating because the clips on them aren't really that strong. I mean, they're just these little flimsy ass clips, if you can see. See, the clip isn't really even that thick. It doesn't have a good grip on the strap. So it's very easy for these to fall off, so be careful if you're moving him around and posing him that those don't fall off. Likewise with these, oh shit, there we go. I just dropped one of the frag grenades on the, no, the flashbangs on the carpet. And now it's going to be a real pain in the ass to find. Bear with me, I'll be back while I find it. Oh, actually I've got it. There it is. Dropping little accessories that are black on a grey carpet is never any fun, but thankfully I found it. So what I was saying is, it's the same principle. These grenades, they don't clip on too great, so they're easy to fall off. But these would be positioned, in the box it says you're supposed to put them on this strap here, but I find that it falls off too easily, so I put them on the lower strap here. That way you can move his leg somewhat without fear of these falling off and being lost forever, never to be found. So that's that. He also has a handgun and a knife. Let's take a look at those. So the handgun fits nicely in the holster here. You can take this out, and like the Uzi, it has some movement in it. You can actually move the chamber, slide the chamber back like that and forward. So that's got some movement there. You can also, does this clip come out? Let me just see. The magazine, I should say. Let me just test that. I think it might. No. If it does, you might need to really be do you think it looks like it could, but I think you might have to get something to prise it out. But no, I don't think the magazine comes out of this handgun, but no, nonetheless it's okay. Looks like a cool handgun, much better than the one you get in the flipping G.I. Joe classified Snake Eyes. Let me just show you here. His handgun was flipping atrocious, because it's got this huge hole in the center of it, so it's nice to have a gun that actually looks like a real gun, you know. So this is just trash. What else have we got? We've got a knife that slides in on the figure here, which is removable, so you can take this knife out. It's just a black combat knife, which is, you know, very nice to have. You can hold that in his hand like any of his other weapons. It slides in like so, and that's cool, man. Snake Eyes is looking deadly with his little knife. Although I think it'd be cooler if the knife blade was a bit longer. It looks a bit small for a 1/6 scale figure, but hey, a knife's a knife at the end of the day. So you can put that back in his sheath there. He also has additional hands. Now this is where some of the problems start for me. As I said, I've had this figure for about maybe 3 or 4 months, and in all that time he's basically sat on the top of my toy display cabinet looking cool, no problems whatsoever. But when I decided that, hey, you know what, it's time for me to do a review of this figure yesterday, so I thought, let me take him down off the cabinet and move him around a bit, have a play about with him, and formulate my thoughts as to what I would say in the review of him. And as I was doing that, for the first time in a very long time, I decided to change his sword holding hand, right hand, out with his Uzi hand. And I'll tell you what happened in a minute, and I'm not very happy about it, but we'll get to that in a moment. First, before I do, let's talk about the hands he comes with. So at the moment I've got him with his 2 sword holding hands. Let me just demonstrate how the swords look in his hands. They look really good actually. Just going to put them in here. and you can get some really good poses with Snake Eyes when you've got the swords in his hand. But this is just something simple for the moment, just to demonstrate how he holds them. They fit in very securely, they're not going anywhere, and that's great. I mean, I'm happy to have a ninja Snake Eyes. But let me talk about the hands. So he's got two sword holding hands, as you can see him with here. He has two open hands for expressions. Let me show you on this camera here. Two open hands which are expressive hands, like that. He's got a trigger holding hand, two actually. Actually, some of these parts I haven't even taken out the bag. So let me just show you what he's got. He's got two clenched fists in the bag here, a left trigger holding hand, and a right trigger holding hand. So this is what you'd put the Uzi in, right? So what happened is I had this hand holding the Uzi, and I hadn't really taken it out since a few days after I got him. I just put him on the shelf and had him in a nice pose. So yesterday I wanted to have him holding the Uzi, so I took the hand out of the peg and I plugged this in to the socket. It was fine for a moment. Then I gently went to position the hand in a different position, and I found that the hand popped off. I thought, that don't feel right, man. Something feels like it's broken. Lo and behold, this little peg thing which goes into the arm and then goes into the hand had literally broken the peg off this ball and socket joint for the wrist. So now you have inside here the broken part of the peg. I was furious because I didn't even move it too hard. I'm always very gentle with these 1/6 figures because I've had problems with them in the past. Now it pissed me off because there's no way in hell this part should break so easily. It was literally like pulling apart what's really soft? I don't know, like it just came apart like, I don't know, chewing gum or something. That kind of like just broke in half kind of thing. Like it was just really soft and flimsy. I don't know if this is a faulty peg or if it's going to be an ongoing fault with the pegs that come in this figure, but it doesn't bode well for me in terms of a vote of confidence. You know, it fucking really pissed me off because now, in order to use this hand, I'm going to have to take my Dremel and drill the part that's in there out so that I can use another ball peg pin to pin in here so I can reuse this hand. Now he does come with some spares. Let me see, he's got, he came with 1, 2, here's the third and here's the fourth. So he comes with 4 of these joints. So now I'm down to 3. And here's another problem. With ThreeZero, I was checking the warranty card. It says you have to fill in the warranty card within, is it 14 days of receiving the figure or some shit like that, in order to get your year's warranty. Now I've had this figure just about nearly 3 months, so I'm guessing my warranty is now void, which is a real fucking pain in the ass, man. If you've paid good money for a figure, you should have a warranty no matter what, man. And I paid good money for this figure, so there's no reason in hell why I should not be able to get a replacement ball peg 3 or 4 months after having the figure. You know, it just fucking pisses me off, man. When good grief, man. Three things are more frustrating when you get a toy and it breaks through no fault of your own. Like, you're not abusing the toy or being very gentle with it, but for some reason things just don't work out as they should. And it shows that sometimes, you know, the quality testing just isn't there. So I'm hoping that this is just a freak occurrence where maybe the plastic on here wasn't as strong as maybe some of the other pins, but it just basically makes me a bit wary of repositioning his wrists and swapping his hands out. Now there is a thing. It might be possible that Hot Toys pegs will fit in these wrists, but I have to find out. I'm not sure if they're different. I'm going to have to test that with maybe another Hot Toy figure if I've got one. And if I can find these for cheap, maybe I can buy them on eBay. But the fact of the matter is that it's very annoying because now I have to do work to get this hand back to work again. I have to drill the part out. And you've got to be very gentle because if you drill too big a hole, the hand's going to fall off really easy. So it's just really annoying. So that's that. And that's the main negative I'll say about this figure. Other than the fact that this material looks like it's not going to be very durable over a long period of time. It might be prone to cracking and flaking. We don't know. We just don't know. So I'm trying my best to keep it good, but I'm also preparing for the worst. So that being said, let me show you how this wrist blade works then. Also how maybe his handgun works. So I'll take his left hand out because his right hand no longer works until I fix it. So here's the right hand trigger finger. If I take this off gently, let's pray that this doesn't break. Right, here's the problem. See that it comes out of the wrist easier than it comes out of the actual hand. So I'm going to leave that in there. Let me take another peg. Now I'm going to have to pull this out of here. Pray it doesn't break, because it's in there pretty tight. You know, I think this is part of the problem, if I'm honest, man. Because I remember I had to pull this out, really try and prise this out of the hand to get it out to be able to plug into here. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take this out, man. I'm going to leave this in there because I don't want no more of these pegs breaking on me. So what I'll do is I'll just demonstrate it. You have to take my word for it, okay? So the handgun will fit in a hand like this. I'm not prepared to break any more of these pegs, so until I buy some replacements or get a replacement from ThreeZero, I'm going to not display these guns in hand. But it would look like this. The hand would go like that, and the handgun would look pretty cool. You know, it's kind of in a nice scale. I'm just holding it gently there. So that would be that. Let's show the Uzi how that would look. Uzi would look something like that. The Uzi's a good scale. Looks like that. You can take the shoulder stock there, if that's what it's called, and he would be able to hold the Uzi very nicely. See, that's how Snake Eyes would look with the Uzi. So forgive me for not being able to demonstrate it properly, but I just don't want to have no more breakages until I at least get some more replacement wrist pegs. So that's how we would look there. Now, this knife piece, which is what I said was really easy to lose out of the box. What you do is you take this this wrist guard off, and there's a little groove on the inside here which you can then plug this into, like so. It doesn't really stay in too well, if I'm honest. So I don't really like displaying this very much, but it plugs onto that, right? And then you would put this over the wrist, and then you would plug his hand back in. I'm going to use this open hand. And there you have his secret bladed weapon, which is also black, which means it's easy to lose, but it would be there. You see the blade there where my finger is? That's his secret bladed weapon. But I don't like doing that because it's very easy to fall out. So I just keep it in storage because I don't want to lose any parts. Don't want to break any parts, don't want to lose any parts. You got to treat this thing like it's made out of porcelain, man. And that's generally the case with most 1/6 scale figures, man. And that's what pisses me off, because as a toy fan, I like to be able to move my figures, pose my figures, you know, change up the displays every now and then. And that's the thing, man. A lot of Hot Toys collectors or 1/6 scale collectors, usually they're known for doing museum poses, which is what I'm doing right now. You have the figure and it's just standing straight on the shelf, and it's going to stand like this in the museum pose for all of eternity, rarely ever being moved, rarely ever being articulated. And for me, that's just no fun, man. I like to pose the figures, play with the figures, put them in dynamic situations. And with 1/6 scale figures, you just can't really do that very well without fear of something fucking up and breaking. Now, I'll say this as well. This is another thing I'll say. In terms of the body they've used for this 1/6 Snake Eyes, I think it's just a little bit skinny. Because I got today in the mail, again from Kapow Toys in the UK, I got my Storm Shadow, my 3/0 1/6 scale Storm Shadow. And if I was to demonstrate, which I will, I think, I'll demonstrate it now. Let's get the Storm Shadow. So if I show the Storm Shadow figure, his arms, his biceps, move the swords out of the way, his biceps are very solid. I mean, these look like masculine arms, you know, strong deltoids. What do they call it? Tricep and bicep muscles. He looks hench. He looks buff. This is how Storm Shadow should look. But Snake Eyes, on the other hand, he looks really thin. Like he's got pipe cleaner arms. And when you're positioning him in with his costume, like you get a lot of creases and stuff. Like for example, if I move this shoulder, it's all like creased up, and it just looks like there's nothing in the shoulder to give the form that should be maintained underneath the suit. So when you're posing him, you're gonna find you're gonna get a lot of wrinkles, folds, and crumples. Where if the body underneath had been a bit more muscular, it wouldn't bend around and stuff so much to give the suit the effect of there not really being anything there to give the suggestion of the form. So I think they've used a very skinny, perhaps a little bit too much of a skinny body type for Snake Eyes here, because he really does look quite anemic. But it's not a real deal breaker, but it's just once I got the Storm Shadow in hand, I thought, you know what, man, Snake Eyes really is looking kind of mager or slender or inebriated, if that's the word to use. But that aside, otherwise I'm very happy. And he actually is articulated better than the Storm Shadow as well, because the Storm Shadow, I found my one, I don't know if it's just my one, but the wrist doesn't rotate, the waist doesn't rotate, and there's no ab crunch on that. And I'll talk about that more in my review, which Lord willing, my next review will be the 3-0 Storm Shadow, because it's quite uncommon for me to get a 1/12 figure, 1/6 figure, and you can't articulate the waist. So before I go any further, I want to talk about a little bit some of the pitfalls of having these 1/6 scale figures. So here is the very first 1/6 scale figure I've bought in my adult collecting life. This is the Resident Evil 5 Shava Alama. Now Resident Evil 5 is still to this day one of my favourite games ever. But the problem with her is I've had to take her belts off and her boots. Oh God, help her boots. If you can see, the fake plastic is literally peeling off. Now I've had this figure, I got this in about 2010 maybe? Yeah, 2010 I got this figure when Resident Evil 5 first came out. Or this figure first came out, because Resident Evil 5 came out in 2009, this figure came out a year later roughly. The boots are literally falling apart. Oh good grief, look at the back here. Can you see this? The leather's pulled itself apart. I'm gonna have to try and fix this shit somehow, man. And I shouldn't fucking have to do this for a figure that I paid top dollar for, and I've kept in the box for damn near 10 years. I only took this figure out and started displaying it around the time, what, November? When I got the Hot Toys 1/6 scale Alita Battle Angel figure. I thought, you know what, man, okay, I got a couple of 1/6 figures, let me put them on the top of my shelf and display them because they could look good together. Took it out of the box, started displaying it in less than, well, what were we in September now? So I'd say about 9 months later, this shit happens, man. And I've noticed this a couple months back, but I just took it off the shelf and I haven't bothered to repair it yet. But look at that, man. The boot is literally pulling itself apart. The fake leather is literally falling off this figure. And it's the same on the left side, and I've had to take her other belt and gun holster parts off as well, because I'm going to have to fucking find a way to fix this shit somehow. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I've got some glue. I've seen a couple tutorials. But again, that's why I've been using this product, this 303 protectant. As I said before, I've got this 303 protectant. Once I glue this whole thing back together, I'm going to have to see if I can keep these fake leather parts successfully lubricated so that I don't see any more wear and tear or damage. So it's just really a pain in the arse to think you're paying so much money for these Hot Toys and they're so fucking, they so lack durability. I mean, fuck's sake, man. Anyway, just looking at that pisses me off. Hopefully that won't be the case with this Snake Eyes, but I'm taking preventative measures to try and prevent that. Now, with Shava, I'm going to take her wrist off, if I can. And yeah, because this is a female figure, the wrist pegs aren't really, they're not really going to be compatible with the male figure, but it's from a different company, isn't it? And it's a different body type. But I never had her wrist break on me, which is a good thing. But I've had other parts break, as you can see. Anyway, she's out of the mix. Let's keep talking about the Snake Eyes. It's going to be some fucking repair job on that shovel. But anyway, let's talk about his articulation. So, articulation-wise, he's okay. He's got a bit more going for him than the Storm Shadow does. Starting with the head. He can look left and right. Very up, can get a good upward look, which is great. As you can see, he's looking up there. Down, that's a good look. Shoulders, he's got can move forward that far. I don't want to go too far because the suit restricts it. As you can see, you've got the crumpling here already. Again, which just means that I'm gonna have to put him in museum poses for the most of the time, because I don't want to destroy this material. He can move outwards, and he's got ratchets on his lateral movement. He can go out that far. He has a an elbow bend, which you can get quite a deep bend, which is okay, like that. He has, you can rock the bicep out this way, which also feels like it's ratcheted. He has wrist articulation, but as I said, because of the problem with the ball peg of the wrists, I don't want to move them too much. But you can rotate them certainly, and he does have some motion on it, but I'm not going to do that. Well, there we go. He can pivot like that. Okay, I'm not going to do that too much because I don't want to break it. He has an ab crunch. Oh, and there goes another fucking grenade. Good grief, man. As I said, these 1/6 figures, man. Right, I think I might have to pause this while I just find that grenade. Back in a minute. Okay, we're back on track. I found a grenade. As I said, they fall off too easily. So, let's take them all off because I don't want to lose any more on the floor. While I just showed the articulations. So, he's got an ab crunch. He can go down that far. He can go back quite far too. That far. There we go. So yeah, he's got a waist rotation, like so. Not too far again, because you don't want to destroy the suit. Legs can kick forward that far, which is okay. You can get some very nice high kicking poses. They can go back only that far. The bottom restricts it. He has nice deep double knee bend, I guess. He can pivot at the upper thigh. The lower leg has no rotation in it, which is cool because the rotation is really at the ankle. You can move the ankles in and out, and you can rock them side to side. So that pretty much covers the articulation. So you can actually do dynamic poses with this guy. And I should say the material on the lower leg is more like a cloth, which is good, but it's got these seams on it which seem to be the same material up here. I'm not sure if these seams are going to start peeling off over time, so we'll have to see how that goes. But like, if I put him in a dynamic pose, you'll see you can do some fun stuff with this guy. I mean, I do like this figure a lot, don't get me wrong, man. It is beautiful and wonderful to have 1/6 Snake Eyes, man, because as I said, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan, mainly of the comics, but the cartoon was cool for its time too, but more so the comics I'm a fan of. But you can do a nice deep sort of crouching pose with Snake Eyes, and when I get him in poses like this, if he stands up or if he crouches down properly, when I get him in poses like this is what makes me remember why I loved the character, why I love G.I. Joe. So let's take a look at that. See, it's this makes it worthwhile. There we are. Poses like this make me overlook some of the faults I've said about this figure, because when you can get Snake Eyes looking so cool, I mean, come on, man. Oh, there goes the ankle. Well, there you go, you see what I'm saying? Nothing's ever easy with these 1/6 figures, but that's alright, it just popped out. Pop it back in. There. So trying to get a nice pose. I mean, this would be great for photography, if I can get him to stay. I mean, he was staying before. Alright, let's put him like this then. Sort of like a dynamic action pose type of thing. But again, with the fact that there's no ratchets in the knees or the thigh rotation, it means he's sliding down. So that's not really too practical for him to hold. Maybe something like this is a bit more, like that'll do. So yeah, you can get Snake Eyes in some nice dynamic poses. And when you see him like this makes me remember why I love G.I. Joe, why I love this character. I mean, he's just falling all over the place. So swings and roundabouts. There's some good things, there's some bad things, and then there's some good things, and then there's some bad things. So what I'm going to do, let me get him fully equipped again, put his gun back in his holster and everything, and I should do some side-by-side comparisons with some other 1/6 scale figures to see how they match up. I don't have a great deal of 1/6 figures, and I don't see myself buying many more. I mean, I do have my eye on the War Story Tifa Lockhart from the Final Fantasy VII remake. That's very, very tempting. That is a very tempting figure. Actually, I think I might get that. And also, I want to get another, a couple accessories for my 1/6 scale Elita, Battle Angel, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So Snake Eyes is once again fully equipped. And I'm going to leave his swords in his hand because they look cool. And let's bring in some other 1/6 scale figures for a comparison. Kind of hard to get everything on camera because these figures are a little bit larger than the 6-inch figures or 7-inch figures I usually get. So starting off, as I said, we've got the 1/6 scale Shava Alamar figure from Resident Evil 5. And as you can see, I think that's a very nice contrast in terms of scaling. Like, she looks like a female standing next to Snake Eyes, and that's what I want, you know, to have a nice contrast between a masculine and a feminine figure. They look good. Forgive me, I'm not showing a whole of them because I can't really zoom out much more. I suppose I can move the camera back. Bear with me. If that works, I'll move the camera back a bit. No, it's not really gonna. You'll just have to take my word for it, because there's some stuff blocking the camera here. Yeah, can't really get back much further than that, but I can certainly pan down. Yeah, well, that's as good as it gets, unfortunately. Forgive me. So that's how a male and a female look together. I'm going to take Shava out, and I'm going to position another figure in here. We're going to have a look at, bear with me, I have to get this off the shelf. Here's another favourite character of mine, one of my action heroes slash role models. You've got John Rambo here, which is another ThreeZero figure. And again, when I get these two together, I'm like, yeah, man, this is real shit, man. We've got my 80s action heroes here. You've got Snake Eyes and you've got John Rambo. This is the Rambo 3 version of Rambo, and again, they look good together. I mean, if I rotate Rambo around a bit, they look really, really good together on the shelf. Yeah, they're in museum poses, but again, when it comes to these 1/6 figures, that's usually what you're dealing with. You know, it just is what it is. But they both look good. They both look consistent. And I will say, this is a 3-0 figure as well. And as yet, I've not had any problems with Rambo's wrists at all. They've been good. Taking his arms out have been very easy compared to Snake Eyes. I've had no problems, which is good. So there's a Rambo. Let's get him out of the shot. I've also got the Hot Toys. Oops, let me get her down here. I've got to be careful with her. It's a bit of a stretch because it's on the top of my toy cabinet and the camera's blocking the way. There we go. There we go. Coming down gently. So here we have one of my favourite figures of one of my favourite characters. This is the Hot Toys Alita Battle Angel figure. To do a comparison with her. So she comes with this costume, as you saw in the film. Is the costume she wears towards the end of the film and in the comics too. But the trouble with this is that it's made out of this fake leather material, all of it. So I have been very careful to consistently treat this figure with the 303 protectant, and it makes it softer, and hopefully it will not dry out and start cracking and peeling the way other people's leather parts of their Hot Toys have. But I'll talk more about that in her review. But here she is alongside Snake Eyes, and they look great together. Again, another one of my action heroes with another one of my action heroes. And Alita looks like a female of the right proportions in contrast to Snake Eyes. So they look really great together. I mean, if I put these three in a shot, put Rambo, Alita and Snake Eyes, as you can see, and again, with these 1/6 figures, I'm not going to be buying many of them. So the characters that I do want represented in my collection are very, very specifically chosen. So again, some of my action heroes all together here. Got Alita, Rambo, Snake Eyes, and they look great together. I don't know why all the heroes have to wear black, but in this instance they were all wearing black. Now, here's the real comparison, what I think most people will probably want to see, because this is probably going to be one of the most important contrasts and comparisons for this Snake Eyes figure is, how does he look alongside the 3-0 Storm Shadow figure? So as I said, this Storm Shadow is a brand new arrival. Just got him today, and here's how they look together. I don't have a stand yet for Storm Shadow, so there you have to stand him up like that. And together, they look good. I think they look very good. But again, I would say Storm Shadow is much more muscular than Snake Eyes, and I think they should have used a more muscular body for Snake Eyes. Not as big as Rambo maybe, but at least on the same level as Storm Shadow. Now, although I've said that, in my own storyline I can make it that, well, Snake Eyes is a very sick man in terms of like physically. We know he had his injury where his face was disfigured and his vocal cords were destroyed, so maybe that could be a case where, you know, Snake Eyes is a bit more of a slender frame, but yet still as deadly because he's got all of his commando and his, you know, Arashikage ninja training. So that's how they look face to face, side by side. Here's how they look back to back, which would be a great photo opportunity. You know, they stand around the same height. It's just Storm Shadow doesn't have a stand underneath him, so he's just a little tad lower. But they're roughly the same height. I mean, these guys, man. You see, now I'm seeing these guys together. I'm getting hyped, man. Because Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, as I said in the 80s, those are my two favourite characters from G.I. Joe. Although now I'm a little bit older, I do tend to like some of the more straight up military characters such as Flint. I mean, Flint's a real badass in my books. And I love that whole Green Beret look, just like, you know, Lieutenant Falcon. And I also love Beachhead, and Beachhead was a story in itself of what a pain in the arse it was to try and get that classified figure of Beachhead. But Talking about the ninjas, that's beautiful, man. Beautiful, man. My childhood reimagined. So let's turn them on the back. That's how they look together from the back. And here's how they look face to face. You know, the ultimate showdown. Throwdown showdown. Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow. That's how they would look face to face. So yeah, again with toys, sometimes when you get just one of them, it looks cool. But sometimes you need more than one to really get the effect of, yeah, this really is shaping up to be really, really nice. So now that I've got the two of these together, this does look really cool. And flaws aside, I think this is cool. I think these are going to stay in my collection for a little while. Don't know how long, because I don't know with these 112 figures. But for now, yeah, they're going to stay. So let me just reposition everything. I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. Okay, so there you have it. That's my review of the 3/0 1/6 scale G.I. Joe Snake Eyes figure. What are my final thoughts on this figure? Well, initially I was very happy when I first received this figure, and I'm still very happy with it for the most part. But there were some parts that could have been improved. For example, I've mentioned the durability on the wrist pegs. You know, that's really thrown my faith into question in terms of actually changing the hands out to put gun hands in versus his sword hands in. You know, I'm really apprehensive of doing that. Secondly, the fact that I have to do a repair on a figure when I've hardly even touched it. You know, it was standing on the shelf for a good 3-4 months. That's a real pain in the arse. Another pain in the arse is the fact that I don't know if my warranty will cover that broken wrist peg, or if I'm going to have to track down and buy another one. For those of you who do collect 1/6 scale figures, if you could post in the comments whether Hot Toys pegs will work with this, I'd greatly appreciate it, because the only Hot Toys I've got are 2 females, and they've got different shaped wrist pegs. So maybe if a male buck wrist peg from Hot Toys would work with this, that would be great. Otherwise, there are some questions in terms of the durability and longevity of the material his suit is made out of. Only time will tell. I'm trying to be cautious by using the 303 protectant on it, but I don't know how long that's going to keep things ticking over smoothly for. But all we can do is hope and pray. A lot of Hot Toys collectors swear by this stuff, but again, only time will tell. Other than that, and a few other minor grievances are the grenades. They don't connect very well to him. They don't attach very well, so they're dropping off all the time. Anytime you want to reposition this figure, it's very easy for one of those grenades to just fall off and get lost on the carpet. You saw it happen to me twice in the course of this review. Another negative point is that this figure does not come with a display stand. I think it should, because a 1/6 scale figure does need a stand. These things are pretty expensive. You don't want it doing a flipping dive off the top of your toy shelf and onto the floor and breaking, so you do need a stand. You can use the Hot Toy stands with these, but I think it would be a goodwill gesture if these came with a stand. So let's talk about the positives. That's the negatives out of the way. The positives are, this is a great looking version of Snake Eyes, and as a 1/6 scale version of him, I'm very happy. Only other problem I'd say is that the buck they've used underneath the suit is a little bit too slender, especially when you get the Storm Shadow figure in hand. I mean, that Storm Shadow is pretty ripped, but in his biceps and his triceps, you know. But it's fine. As I said, I can imagine Snake Eyes as being a more slender frame, because, you know, he's been through hell. You know, he's suffered some grievous injuries, so maybe his body isn't going to be as buff as some of the other characters. Would I recommend this figure? If you're a G.I. Joe fan of the 80s, for sure. I mean, he really does convey the presence and look and feel of a V2 Snake Eyes figure in your collection. And as I say, faults aside, I'm still very happy to own this. And he doesn't cost as much as most Hot Toys too. I think I paid about $140 for this. But I put the pre-order up ages ago. As I said, Kapow Toys, they did me good with this one. I put the pre-order up ages ago, maybe in November or December of 2020, and he arrived just before summer, I guess. Maybe a month or two ago, maybe 3 months ago. Wasn't keeping track. But yeah, I'm very happy. I would certainly recommend him to G.I. Joe fans, and as I said, I think he's a keeper for now. I'm going to keep him in my collection for now because it's very nice to have a representation of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow in my toy collection, because they meant so much to me in my childhood. So there you have it. I would certainly recommend him if you're into G.I. Joe. So yeah, with that, thank you for watching the review. I'm going to move on to the Storm Shadow. I might try and film that one shortly after I wrap this one up, because I like to have the two out there, because I think, you know, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, they complement each other. So if you're thinking of getting the Snake Eyes, you might well be considering getting the Storm Shadow too. So I'll try to get that review up as soon as I can so people can make an informed decision. But once again, thank you for watching, thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you to all the people who have subscribed to my channel so far, you know, much appreciated. I'm not one of those guys who likes to say, oh, click like and click subscribe and all that bullshit, man. No, fuck that shit, man. If you subscribe, much appreciated, right? I'm not going to be here begging you to, oh, please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. No, fuck that shit, man. Anybody who's used YouTube for long enough knows how to click a subscribe button, and they know how to click a like button. They don't need to be flipping coerced or pressured into doing it. That's just my opinion. But to all those of you who are indeed watching my videos and are indeed doing that, a sincere thank you. You know, it gives me motivation to keep making more videos, and it's fun for me to make these anyway, because I love talking about toys, because toys is one of my major passions in life. So yeah, thank you to all those who are watching and enjoying the videos, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again, take care for now.